everybody, Angela Ardolino with Your Natural Dog, and today my guests are Bryce and Kenzie Francois. They're a 20-something married couple who has literally dedicated their lives to raising their 3 dogs, and they're amazing. They have become canine nutritionists and have learned and done the research and are great at teaching pet parents how to basically feed your dogs a appropriate raw diet, along with everything else they learn through pet parents. We have a great discussion about, discovering, both of us, when we discovered, Kibble wasn't the best thing and what we could do, how to feed an appropriate diet on a budget. Is it something that you're going to do? What are the benefits? Anyway, really great conversation. I think you guys are going to love with Bryce and Kenzie coming up next.
This hemp oil and know that I am giving my dog something that is 100% natural and has virtually no side effects. I can't wait to create, more experiences and make new memories with my dogs, knowing that they will be able to stay calm and enjoy every single moment of it.
Hello, Bryce and Kenzie. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you on as my guest, which is incredible because I've already been your guest and you guys are like killer at interviews. Well, now you're on the other side. And what I think we're going to do today, and what I think is going to be so fun, is because I would love to know what it would have been like to been you at your age with my first dog. And I feel like that's what you are and that's what you're doing. And so it's kind of like I get to go back in time and see what it would be like. And you've put a guide together, which I think illustrates it perfect, where you call yourselves, you've put your handbook together called The Modern Dog Parent. And amen, it is. You are modern dog parents. I can't remember where I saw this, where plants are the new pets and pets are the new children.
You got that
and
right.
Pets have always been my children. So I'm glad that, everybody's finally caught up.
Yep.
Because that's how I've always felt.
Yep.
I never birthed any children. I adopted one, and his mother actually gave him to me. And then all of my others have had feathers and fur, and when you think about how important it is, your responsibility, you're completely responsible for their health and well-being, and everything in the world seems to be against you.
Yeah, absolutely everything.
Which I'm 50 and I have grown to trust nobody and research the hell out of everything. So when I see some young 20-somethings, I don't know. Are you still 20-somethings?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. First of all, your wedding picture is the cutest thing on the face
of
the earth.
Thank
Like,
you.
look at those babies. But how, what was your first, is it like a couple deciding to have children? Did you guys go, we're going to do this and we're going to make sure we do it right? And then you started discovering things and been like, what the?
I mean, I would say we definitely started with that intention, right? Like, we're going to do this. We're going to be the best pet parents. And then, like you said, you kind of learned that, am I allowed to cuss on this podcast?
Yes.
You kind of learn that everything's bullshit as you grow up, and like, I tell the memory of going to the vet for the first time, asking about raw food when we had Harper.
Oh, well, first of all, my previous hypochondriacism definitely bled over to Harper, and it turned out just to be car anxiety, but we took her in because we were like, she's going to explode. She's going to die. She's freaking out.
The emergency vet fee, the whole shit.
Just like a new parent.
Just like a new parent.
Exactly. And so...
It's got a temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, is she okay? Is she going to make it?
Right.
Like crying. So afraid. Yeah. So we take her to the vet, this emergency vet, and Bryce had been watching this guy on YouTube, Gohan.
Yeah,
right?
Gohan the Husky. Shout out to that YouTube channel, because that was definitely what kind of sparked my interest. It was all raw feeding, very much the raw feeding.
And at first he would show me, and I was like, that's dangerous. We're never doing that. Kibble is the right thing. We need to do balance.
Which I agreed with at the time.
Yeah. So we take her to this
Do you
vet.
ask
and Bryce...
yourself why? Now? Why?
Oh, absolutely.
Why do you think that?
Of course, hindsight is 20/20, but I look back and I'm like, why did I do any of that?
Marketing, propaganda.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Marketing companies created that food, not a food company.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Oh no. So Bryce is like curious and asks like, oh, we're kind of curious about raw feeding. And she's like, don't do it. It's dangerous. It's not a good idea. She needs to be on Kibble. And that was kind of the last of it for about
I'd say 3
3
years.
years?
Yeah, because we didn't really get back into it until 2021.
So, I mean, we thought we were going to get her the top of the line Purina Pro plan. Like,
We even started off, this is our big thing, we started off with Rachel Ray Nutrish. So, like, we really started from the bottom and got to this point.
Was it the pretty
Yes.
pictures on the package?
Oh, yes.
Every
Oh,
time.
yes. All the
and
marketing.
I mean, Rachel knows what to do, for God's
Yes.
sakes.
yes.
Regardless of your feelings about Kibble, you have to accept that they are absolute wizards when it comes to marketing.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Because
yeah.
they're marketing companies.
Yep.
That's what they do.
Yep.
Mhm.
They and even Kibble, I mean, you know the origin story of Kibble. It didn't start as a healthier alternative to dogs. It started because a random dude saw a gap in the market that he could make money with. There was no, good intention behind it. It was all to make a quick buck.
Yep.
So yeah. And then in 2021, we don't have to get too into it, but we kind of, in hindsight, we're trying to open up a natural pet store. It ended up not working. We had to close down the business and everything. But during that time, I got put on to Karen Becker and Ronnie Habib and the Forever Dog. And that was, I think a lot of pet parents, especially in our world, can resonate with that being something that was like a very beginning step for them.
I was literally in the bathtub, and he was across the street at our shop, and he comes in and he goes, everything is about to change. This is where our content needs to go. They need to get on raw
Awesome.
food immediately. And I was just like, whatever you need to do, man.
Yep.
I was like, all right, I'm along for the ride.
Yep. And I mean, it was at that point that I started to really think like, okay, when they tell you about human nutrition, they say, stay out of the aisles, shop the outskirts of the stores, stay in the fresh produce, fresh meat, all of that section. And I'm like, where's Kibble in a supermarket? It's honestly, it's in the aisles usually with the harsh chemicals and stuff, if we're being totally honest, but it's in the aisles of highly processed foods. So I was like, okay, something's weird here, and I feel a pull to this raw feeding. We're just going to try it, and see what happens. And so at that time, we were very much sharing content about like lick mats and some of the stuff that we still share about now, but we were still feeding Kibble and stuff. And at that moment, we switched to a full DIY diet. We got really into it, got burnt out.
It was just so much at once. Like, Harper, our oldest, hates raw food texture. She'll eat it frozen. She'll eat it gently cooked. And just all these trial and errors that just felt like, can't you see what I'm trying to do for you?
Yeah.
Which, they're dogs. They're like,
Right.
just feed me, whatever.
Totally. That's one of the hardest things I went through during that process was, giving them this meal that I put so much time and energy and love into. And then they're like, yeah, I don't really like it. And I'm like, no,
like
you do.
Children.
Yeah, you literally do. You have to like this right now. So yeah,
And I treat the human child just like the pet child. I'm like, all right, I guess you're going to be hungry. I mean, I have one. She's not a picky eater. I just don't know what it is. What she will eat around things, spit a capsule back out kind of thing. But if she decides to be bitchy in the morning, because I only feed them in the morning, if I give it to her later in the day, she'll eat it.
She's
When
like,
she gets hungry or whatever. Maybe she's got a bellyache or something like that. But yeah, just like children, don't be a short order cook. But if you do start them as puppies, then you never have that problem because they're never used to anything else.
That's it exactly. So if you're a pet parent listening to this and you have a young animal, start feeding them every pet safe food under the sun. I mean, switch it up, variety feed. You will have the easiest eating dog, I don't know, for lack of a better word, later in life, you know. I love that point.
I was going to say, and you can start eating those while you're pregnant with them. But we're talking about dogs. Which
that doesn't quite translate over.
But there's research study though think about it. If the mother eats the broccoli or the spicy or the whatever, then the kid's going to get used to it. So same thing is going to apply to, whether that mother dog was fed an appropriate diet. I'm sure it has some helps also with that. Raw fed, going to a raw fed, but we won't go down that weird black hole yet.
Next episode.
So when you found out, have you guys discovered this for your own health? Or did you discover it for your dog's health first and then yours? Or was it something that you just went, wait a minute, this is what I always find myself saying over and over again. Real food is real food is real food is real food.
Yep.
Yeah, it honestly took probably like 2 years for us to fully get into it. We really had to come out of fight or flight from losing our store. And
I mean, we were door dashing everything at that point. You don't have any time. Shout out to all the small business owners, yourself included. I mean, the amount of time it takes and you just focus on convenience.
Yes, totally. But yeah, we just started thinking and I want to acknowledge that everyone is doing the best they can and you're not a bad person if you eat McDonald's, but we just got to the point where I was like, we would never feed our dogs McDonald's. We would never feed them the dog equivalent of McDonald's.
We did.
So yeah, we did. We did that. We went down that road. But yeah, it's literally been the last 6 months that we have gotten so much more serious about our nutrition. And I mean, everything is so closely related.
Well, we did this elimination diet back in 2021, and it was a very hard experience in the fact that we cut out a ton of stuff. I call it whole food not whole food, whole 30 on steroids.
I remember doing it in my 40s. You guys are amazing. You're gonna skip so much bullshit in your life that from what you're discovering, and your friends may think you're freaking crazy, but you're gonna be like, hey guys, I'm still, which I'm kind of I am see friends that are younger than me, my 30-year-olds, and they are achy, obese, have all kinds of issues,
moody,
a medicine cabinet filled with pharmaceuticals, and I'm like, you're 20, how is that?
Yeah,
what is it going to be like at my age? So yeah, good for you for finding out how to take care of yourself. So elimination diet sucks.
Yeah, it was really hard, but I've never felt better. I've truly never felt better. You don't realize kind of the fog you're in day to day, and there was no we cut out all sweeteners, including honey and maple syrup, a lot of stuff, even beyond what I think we probably really needed to cut out. But by cutting out all of those processed foods, it totally lifted us and amplified our energy levels and stuff. And, I have a theory with humans. I don't think it matters as much what diet you choose, whether it's carnivore, vegan, pescatarian, whatever. But it's the cutting out of the processed foods that's the big thing. And that's what we try to tell pet parents. Our big goal, our big agenda is to increase the amount of fresh food your pet eats and decrease the amount of highly processed food that your pet eats.
Amen.
Beyond that, everything else is kind of trivial, Nothing is going to have as big of an impact, I don't think, as cutting out those highly processed foods.
And then I agree totally. That is an awesome piece of advice. And would you agree that even on the processed, let's make sure, and this probably goes hand in hand anyway, if you're going to go with a processed or a kibble, let's say, that has good ingredients, that those ingredients, those animals that were used in those recipes have also been raised humanely and fed the correct thing, because not only does that make a difference in the nutrients that are found in that, but also what happens when you do bake, farm factory raised animals proteins at super high temperatures.
Yeah.
Yes. The first time I ever heard of this was before Michael Pollan came out with all of his mushroom and psychedelic research, when he was still just mostly in food and agriculture. I was listening to a podcast and he was like, why do we feed children? Like, why are kids' menus the way they are? And then he also brought to my attention that, centuries ago, the person that raised the animal, butchered the animal, and prepared the animal was all the same person. And it was usually like the highest, like, spiritual leader of the culture or whatever. And that, like, the fact when we're doing these large factory farming, like, that stress, the stress hormones in those animals, they don't just go away when we eat them. Like, we're consuming that. So that was the first time that was brought to my attention. And then when we started thinking about, like, what is the quality of the meat, and then when it's that low quality and then it's also being that super high heat processed, it is just sad.
Yep, it really is. And I think in the pet industry, at least from my perspective, there seems to be too much of a focus on the nutrient level of ingredients in pet food, as opposed to the quality of that ingredient and the sourcing of that ingredient.
Right.
For example, I know you know about this, but that whole 2008 melamine scandal, they're artificially boosting the protein levels of these ingredients with really toxic chemicals just so they can meet certain standards, probably developed by AFCO or the NRC, I'm guessing, if they're selling in the United States. And they're not focusing on giving you protein that comes from grass-fed beef. They're trying to give you protein that comes from the cheapest source they have access to. And then, like Kenzie touched on,
they bake everything out. So they got
they bake everything out.
Synthetic back in to meet the bullshit standards that were, put into place in the first place.
Exactly.
I mean, like hemp. I guess mushrooms have been approved to be in food because I know they're in food.
Right.
I know Dr. Harvey's has shiitake in a lot of their recipes and things like that, but hemp is not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And hemp is in hemp seeds, hemp protein is an amazing source of protein and nutrients. And it's not, we're not even allowed to submit it to what's called a generally recognized as safe GRAS to be included. So but what is it? Sawdust, I believe, is approved, and
cellulose,
fly larvae is approved, and
I mean, God, you could get into the preservatives, the synthetic antioxidants. I mean, all of this stuff, and what Kenzie was touching on with like how the animals are treated. I think that's such an underappreciated aspect of the supply chain, because you have animals that are being factory farmed. They don't have room to graze. They don't have anything to graze on. They're eating grain, which is changing the nutrient makeup. If you send a piece of grain-fed beef liver and grass-fed beef liver to a test to have tested, they're going to have vastly different nutrient makeups, even if they come from generally the same location. And that just goes to show that, like,
endotoxins?
No.
I just learned about them from a podcast. Endotoxins are basically, I can't remember how long ago that saturated fat got blamed for raising blood cholesterol and all that. And it's literally endotoxins, which are all of the toxins from those farm factory animals. And what happens to them when you cook them? So you have a steak and potatoes and, a high saturated fat meal. They were blaming it on the saturated fat, and it wasn't the saturated fat. It's the endotoxins that when you cook them, this is what happens.
Yep. Sounds a lot like the fact that they're blaming lack of grain on DCM. It's just like you're literally not even focusing on even close to the right thing,
Right. I know,
like
it
you
drives us
mentioned
crazy.
With the whole kibble and like how it's cooked. Well, first of all, these big kibble companies, they're starting with low quality ingredients. And we talk about it in our guide and in our upcoming book. Is one of those low quality ingredients can be 4D meat. 4D meat is meat that is dead, diseased, dying, or disabled. Basically meat that did not die via slaughter. They died from some other cause. And what they often do is they spray these meats with super harsh chemicals so that they're guaranteed to leave the supply chain, but they don't stop there. They're not just being thrown out. They're being thrown into your pet's food, cooked at unbelievably high temperatures, usually 4 separate times, sometimes even more. And, Dr. Karen Becker and Rodney Habib explain it so well in their book, The Forever Dog. They talk about these AGEs, or advanced glycation end products. You're basically creating these things that go into your dog's body and can cause cancer and destroy normal immune function. And they're getting it every single day, usually twice a day, from the food that they eat. They have no break from these chemicals.
They don't, and they're being overfed. And then if they do go to the veterinarian, the conventional veterinarian that knows nothing about diet and nutrition, or the endocannabinoid system for that matter, and they're given some sort of antibiotic, I feel like is what gets first prescription. And I went through this for my dog that I fed Purina Pro Plan and lost at age 7 after doing everything wrong. And it's terrible. They don't have a chance at all. And now, thanks to Susan Thixton, we have now been told again, which I don't know if you know this. Where did I just learn this? I think Dr. Connor Brady, that the second highest reason for recall is for phenobarbital, which is the euthanasia drug.
Oh,
and that there are rendering things in the United States called rendering plants that take euthanized animals, meaning euthanized dogs and cats and pets.
Yep.
What do you think happens when you take a drug that kills an animal and then bake that at high temperatures, which we already know because we had that huge recall from Hillside's Diet, which, there's a class action suit. I don't know what happened to it, but I'm hoping there's people that something happens, because what people don't understand is that the reason they get away with this is that if you lost a dog to one of this, and it's not listed in the ingredients, you're not told that they're using euthanized animals. And I decide to sue you and I win. They go, how much were your vet bills? Because our pets are considered property.
Yep.
And that is why they imagine an evil corporation discovering that loophole and going, and that's why every giant pharmaceutical company has an animal arm that's making billions of dollars.
Yep. And that's the thing, is like, people think that, we're just making stuff up in the pet industry. It's like, this exists in every industry in the world. Yep. It's large players that have created some sort of monopoly on this, that are owned by, if you want to get into like BlackRock and Vanguard, they're owned by the same, I'd say 10 to 15 people. Yep. But they are, and there was, like, you were talking about the euthanasia drug. We were just talking about this article from, I don't know if it was 2021. It was a decent while ago, but it was talking about the dog DNA being found in pet foods. And like you said, you have euthanized dogs, their DNA and their euthanasia drugs are ending up in pet foods. And then later on in that same study, I think it was like AP News article or something, they were talking about how 6 of like name brand foods, and they wouldn't release the names yet. I'm not exactly sure why, but they not only had multiple.
They didn't want to lose their advertising.
Probably. Seriously, but they had ingredients, multiple ingredients. Some of them had like a dozen ingredients in the food that weren't actually in there. And every single one of them also had ingredients that they had listed on the food that did not show up in the testing at all. So there's absolutely no regulation. And, when we talk about 4D meat, the FDA on their website says, 4D meat, like, that's not allowed. And then if you keep scrolling, it says, we don't really have the resources to enforce any of this. And it's like, okay,
no, they don't.
You have a paragraph on your website.
And what's scary, they are called food, so you think they would be number one, food and drug. They don't have any time to do animal drugs either.
Yeah. What's the point?
And so they have something called drugs that have not been approved but are legal to market. What? So what I think is worse about that is that food will kill you slowly. A drug will kill your dog immediately or, very quickly, destroy their kidney, liver, or whatever it is. So there are like, now this is old information now, but there's like 2,000 drugs on the market, and they're constantly releasing new animal drugs. A new painkiller, like we need another one of that. A new antibiotic, like we need another one of those.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they're not even, the FDA doesn't have time to approve them. So they just like mark them in this category. And I'm sure it's who makes you? Zoetis? Pfizer? Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Got it.
Go for it. And guess what? It's probably a drug they're remaking I remember looking at which ones in 2022 were on that list for just 2022. And it was it Perfecto that had the recall that was killing dogs with the flea collar? Flea
One
and tick?
of those, maybe Simparica. Yeah, one of those big brands.
They were releasing a new one.
Yeah.
So
and
that,
it's like
they pulled that one off, and now they're releasing a new one, which how it works is that even if you can prove this chemical killed this many dogs, if you can prove that it killed a person and several people, and then you can prove that, they go and tell the company, and the company just has to stop using that chemical. All they do is go and change it a little bit and release a new product.
Yeah.
They don't care about us, and they don't care about our pets.
No, they do not. That's what we always say. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. These politicians, these big tech companies, they're all working for themselves. It doesn't matter their political party. It doesn't matter any of their affiliations. They're working to line their pockets. And, one thing we've learned recently that I think you probably are fully aware of, but a lot of our audience might not be, is the fact that the reason there's so many synthetic drugs on the market is because you can't trademark and make money from something natural.
We have not been able to stop thinking about that since you said that.
Was it you that told us that? Oh my gosh, Angela. Okay, so you absolutely know this.
You better remember. Yeah.
But
totally makes sense, because you're like, why? We already have it. The Chinese have been using it for 2,000 years. We have proof. It's like literally on, what do they call it? Is it hieroglyphics? Like cave walls. They've got it.
Yes.
Down. I mean, like hemp seeds would like sustain a whole family in their farm through the winter. Mm-hmm. So it's all exists there. And I'm like, I always want to know why.
Yeah.
What's the why behind it? And I always find it leads to greed, money.
It absolutely does.
Why they can't share. I told you what our number one threat to the hemp industry now is: the marijuana industry. They've become greedy. Too many people are finding relief in hemp.
Yep.
And they don't like it.
Yep.
It's like unbelievable. I just don't understand it. So you have to take your health and your whole family's health, your pet's health into your own hands. And I want to know, if you're speaking to your former selves, your brand new pet parents, I know the number one thing I heard at my store is it's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have 3 dogs.
Yep. Do.
So what would you tell that young pet parent? Because you haven't even gone through where you can see, I'm not having to go to the vet all the time now.
Yeah.
I don't have a dog that's, itching, scratching for no reason. I don't have whatever. So you don't even get to go where I get to go. My first dog I lost at 7. I did everything a conventional vet did. Miniature schnauzer, my second miniature schnauzer. I just lost him. My soul dog, 16 and a half years old. I now can say, yeah, that's the difference. My Doberman, supposed to live 4 to 6 months, made it 26 months with the most deadly, painful cancer. I didn't have to do anything conventional. Beat records, thrived the whole time. You can't tell me that THC kills a dog. She lived because of that. So tell me what you want. So what would your advice be to these young pet parents that go, yes, prepare. Mm-hmm. This is what you should expect. Of course, it's going to be expensive. It's expensive to feed ourselves right.
Yep. It absolutely is. And I think that's one of the biggest things is, owning a pet or being a pet parent in America. They make it seem like it's cheaper and easier than I think it actually is. There's a lot more work that goes into it. But for the pet parents out there who, their dog has eaten a highly processed food their entire life, I would say start with your own scraps. Hydrate your dog's kibble with water, at least. Always give them extra hydration. The dry food is, the way I always describe it is dogs have evolved drinking water and also eating food that's 70 to 80% water. So when you take out 60, 70% of that, they're not used to getting that much water from just drinking it. So please hydrate your dog's kibble. And then again, use your scraps. You're cutting up fruits, veggies all the time, meat trimmings, whatever it is. Look up if it's dog safe. If you want, we have a dog safe fruits and vegetables download on our website, which you can see.
You need to add fungi to that, and I'm happy to help you with that.
I need to ask you later, though, because isn't fungi not a vegetable technically?
It's not. That's why you have to have a whole separate little column for it.
You're totally right. You're totally right. I'm definitely going to add that. But
I'm
yeah,
writing that down.
I honestly think that if you can just start adding your scraps, the reason we say that adding, and I don't know if we haven't said this on this podcast yet, but adding fresh foods to your dog's diet, even 10% of their diet, can potentially add years onto their life. I mean, Angela, you're a living, breathing example of this. You had a dog where you said, you felt like you did everything wrong, and then you started to make some changes, and it was more than double the life. So I think that even if you can only add a few of your trimmings, the butt ends of your celery, the leafy parts of your carrots, the tops of strawberries, anything like that.
What you're eating.
What you are eating, exactly. And so I think that the reason we say that fresh food can add years to your dog's life is because only processed food can take away years from your dog's life. Food is absolutely medicine, but it's not like this brand new miracle drug that we found. It's like, this is just the natural state of our being, and that gives them the chance to live the longest, healthiest life possible. So start with the scraps, hydrate the kibble, and then go from there.
Awesome. What else? What are some of the other things that you've learned that have been so surprising that you thought because I can hardly remember anymore. So this is fun.
I know it.
Yes. For me, it's
what I think is fun is that it's not somebody that's stuck in their old ways.
Yes.
Yes. And then I want to remember that now the term canine nutritionist is used all the time. And there's different schools, there's different ways. If I type in Google canine nutritionist program, my whole page is filled with all kinds of programs, because I get shocked sometimes when I'm speaking to a canine nutritionist and they say something to me and I'm like, I know that's not right. And I write it down. Yep. And then the ones I trust, I call up and they're like, absolutely not. Where did you hear that? And I'm like, so I want to talk about that too, but go ahead with what you were going to say, Kenzie.
I think the thing that was also pretty shocking to me was that, and this can be an entire other episode too, flea and tick preventative does not actually prevent your dogs and cats from being bit. It just pumps chemicals into them, and then when they are bit, it kills the flea or tick.
And it's supposedly supposed to prevent Lyme disease, but so many dogs still get Lyme disease on traditional medications when they get bit by ticks.
So yeah, that one's a doozy.
Yeah, that's a tough one to accept.
It is, and it's really hard, because not only are people putting it in them, but everything's being sprayed in it. I don't know if you've ever seen the piece of research that Rodney shared about I think it was a lake or a community somewhere in Europe where all the fish were dying, all the vegetation was dying. So they tested the water and found out it was flea and tick meds that were being put on dogs.
No way.
So the country, I can't remember what it is, outlawed it.
Yeah, I think they're not the only ones that have outlawed a lot of the traditional ones here in the U.S. We were talking to Dr. Morgan. I think she was our very first podcast guest of season 2, kind of this new podcast we've been doing. But awesome. She was like, there's thousands of pet deaths, and we take this stuff to Congress, and they basically say it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough. And you know better than anyone. I'm sure like 1% of actual cases get reported. So if there's thousands of pet deaths, there might be millions of pet deaths from these medications.
There are, or the long-term effects that we don't even know because we can't see it. It's happening on the inside.
Dogs dying from cancer that might be caused by these medications that won't be listed on their death certificate.
Exactly. It's the number one cause of cancer is toxins and chemicals. And it's in their food. We're putting it in them every single month. Some people are over vaccinating, more chemicals are being put in them, so they're bombarded. They don't have a chance, and then they're being overfed a high processed food, so their liver and kidneys are dealing with that and not doing what they're supposed to, which is detoxify and heal.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and let's not forget too, when it comes to the flea and tick preventatives and these chemicals we're pumping into our dogs, if you have a dog, I'm pretty sure you're going to pet that dog, and then you're going to touch your face, or you're going to pick up your organic orange. We learned this from Dr. Morgan. She brought it to our attention. She goes, that orange is no longer organic.
It's pesticide laden. There's pesticides everywhere. Your dogs come in and they sleep in your bed. You're sleeping in pesticides. I mean,
that's what I used to do to scare parents, and that's how I'd get them to change. I go, they're hugging, sleeping, whatever. Do you think that's not coming out into their skin? And they're more worried about their kid touching raw food. You touch raw food all the time.
I
You
mean,
cook with raw food. Why is the raw food and the dog food dangerous, but not the raw food that you buy at the grocery store?
exactly. And I
don't
think we're going to
even-
see a big shift here soon. You have, to this day, Hills, Mars, all of these companies list on their website raw food as toxic to dogs. They listed in the same category
Well,
as
not Mars
chocolate.
anymore because they
as
bought their
raisin.
first. They bought their
Oh,
first company, so I'm sure
there you
they've
go.
taken that off.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. They're saying these things right now. In 20 years, they're going to have their own lines of raw food.
Absolutely.
There's no regulation here. There's no one holding anyone accountable. They get to say and do whatever they want and then go back on that statement. There's unbelievable levels of hypocrisy. But I think, one thing that I think could be valuable to your community is if we go over some good and bad ingredients to look for in Kibble. You okay if I run through a few that I wrote out here?
Absolutely.
So the good ones to get started. You're looking for high quality meat, grass-fed beef. You're not looking for meat meals. You're not looking for bone meals. You're looking for high quality meat sources, and you're looking for a lot of those in the top section of the dog food. We are firm believers that dogs are scavenging carnivores. This doesn't mean that they can't eat plant matter. They can absolutely benefit from small amounts of plant matter, but they should be getting the bulk of their diet and the bulk of their energy from protein sources and not these low quality carbohydrate, high glycemic stuff. So high quality meat and then low glycemic fruits and vegetables. So you're looking for apples, peaches, cranberries, broccoli, carrots, leafy greens. You're not looking for a lot of barley and other grains and, these lower quality things. And then to get into the bad ingredients, number one is the artificial colors. I actually saw a video yesterday that Burger King, of all places, has banned this entire list of ingredients that they no longer use. And on there, you have all of the artificial colors. They came out with a red burger, a red bun for Spider-Man, and they use beet juice to color it. It's like, you even have these fast food companies that are starting to take note, but artificial colors, red 40, yellow 5, blue 2, yellow 6. I mean, any of those that sound like that, those could be potentially cancer causing. They can disrupt the immune system. They can disrupt the hormone system. The endocrine system. Yeah, they can disrupt all of that. And then the next one I would say is one of the bigger ones, and that's going to be your synthetic preservatives. And again, Burger King banned these too, which is so funny. I don't know why I keep bringing it up, but it's just blows my mind that a company like this would ban these ingredients. But BHA, BHT, ethoxyquin, those are 3 pretty deadly synthetic preservatives that are in so many popular pet foods. Milk-bone is the one that always comes to mind that uses a lot of these ingredients. And ingesting those can lead to cancer, liver damage, allergic reactions. So, I think so many pet parents, even us that feed a very well-rounded diet, we go through so many things with allergies and stuff. So if you're a pet parent, look and see if the products you feed have those ingredients, the artificial colors, the synthetic preservatives. But those are 2 that I would really, really watch out for.
That's incredible advice. I love it. And I also always say, if you can't pronounce it or you don't know what the hell it is, move on.
You know how many times it took me to practice ethoxyquin before I got it down? I still don't even know if it's right. And BHA is like butylated hydroxide.
Biscarol, whatever. Yeah, I know. I remember before I got into this, I had a family magazine, and all I did was report on natural, holistic living. And it's so funny to find all of the same stuff, much worse in the pet industry. But I remember I was doing a TV segment about baby food and what was found in baby food. And it was right when BPA, everybody was discovering how bad it was. And it was it was not only in the baby food, but leaching the baby food. And I'm like, okay, let me go to the grocery store and see. And I knew how to find which ones had BPA in it. Every single one of them. I was standing in the baby food aisle. They don't care about babies.
No. They don't care about anything.
So I will thank you. Thank you for being such a great example and being a living example and showing what you guys are doing and learning at the same time. My advice is to always keep that open mind.
Yep.
Because
that's exactly
you constantly discover what the real truth is. And I always say, keep it real and get back to nature, because that's the way it was supposed to be in the first place. Tell everyone where they can find you, because I The first time I saw you was on TikTok. That's my favorite platform to watch you on. That's about the only one that I really enjoy anyway anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I know you're like on all of them, but tell everybody where they can find you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one place, we're on pretty much every social media platform at the BK Pets. And I'm Bryce. This is Kenzie, BK. It's kind of how all that started. But yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, Clapper now. We're trying some new ones out.
What the hell's Clapper?
I know. Kenzie hates the name,
I'm
and
like,
rightfully so.
Every time I hear it, I'm like,
Yeah,
what is
no.
this?
Clapper is basically the backup TikTok in case TikTok gets banned. That's the way I'm looking
okay,
at it.
good.
So,
Good to know.
but yeah, you can find us on all the social media platforms, and then our website, the BK Pets. You know, we have our homemade diet guide for dogs on there. We're dropping another one later this month for cats, so we'll have both of those.
We have lots of products that we would recommend.
Yep, all the products we recommend for both dogs and cats. I mean, you can get absolutely anything you need from our website. And then we were about to talk about the canine nutrition certification, didn't quite get to that, but we have a pinned post on all of our platforms that talks about our credentials, where all of those are from. I think if you're looking for somebody that is a canine nutritionist, find somebody that's super transparent and says, I'm not a vet, but I'm a lifelong learner and I'm trying to bring this information to you. So you can find all of that information. And yeah, we're BK everywhere at the BK Petcast on wherever you get podcast, not Petcast. But yeah, that's us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate everything you shared with us.
Angela, thank you so much. It was an absolute honor.